sure if it's going to play. Hello and good afternoon. My name is Whitney Clark. I'm a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council here in Detroit, Michigan. And thank you so much for sharing a moment with me. I want to pass by your timeline and share some information. You know, there's so much going on in our country right now. There's so much going on in the political spaces, and our news cycles move so quickly. Oftentimes, we don't really have an opportunity to process the current headline before another headline comes out. But let's pull over for a moment and talk about a couple of the stories that we're seeing in the news today. And let's continue to have the conversations about these issues openly. We're all trying to process it, right? But I think in order for us to make some progress in understanding what's going on, I think it's imperative and important that we have unbiased, sober-minded conversations in open spaces. I want to turn to two stories, and I'll try to do a yin and a yang. I'll try to do a story or today. I don't want to set the wrong expectations. Let me tell you what's going on today. I have a story that is both of these stories are from Fox, and we're going to ask some common sense questions. Let's go ahead and start off with what you're seeing on our title. It is Elon Musk fallout, and so we're going to talk on the other side of this video. But I want to jump into a video that I saw literally once I got home today for a few moments, and I wanted to share it with you because, again, it's important that we have these discussions in an open way, in a fair, unbiased way. Elon Musk was accused of essentially assaulting someone in the Trump administration, Mr. Scott Bessent, I believe. Let's go ahead and jump into the story, and then we'll talk about it on the other end. Take a look.
All right, here we go. The White House addressing reports of a physical altercation between Elon Musk and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent earlier this year.
I certainly wouldn't describe it as a fistfight, Maria. It was definitely a disagreement. Although I was not there, I didn't witness it with my own eyes. I heard about it through secondhand reporting. But again, we've moved on from that. The president has moved on from it. And the entire administration is focusing on passing this bill.
Yep, but.
All right. So quick there. Not a whole lot of information. We're going to talk about the entire story. But I want to just kind of set the stage for what's going on here, right? There is a big discussion about deporting people who commit crimes that aren't from our country, huh? You see where I'm going with this? And so now we're asking the question if Elon Musk should face charges and if Elon Musk should be facing deportation. And, there are two sides to this, obviously. One side will argue that reaction is extreme, and that's fine. But the other side will argue that that's the argument that we're having. We're having an argument about people who aren't born in the country, who come here, right? Now, obviously, Mr. Elon has come here, lawfully, nevertheless, he isn't from the country and he's committing crimes here in our country. What should take place, right? What should happen to someone like that? But I also want to point your attention to the wording that was used by Fox. They said it was a body check, and so that's a fascinating use of words. I think it is downplaying what took place. Certainly, it would be described as assault if it was someone on the left that had this alleged confrontation, scuffle, if you will, with a private citizen, quite frankly, and a member of the president's administration. That's a big deal. And I don't want to downplay that. Because if I body checked Scott Bessent, I'd be arrested for assault. That's what would happen, right? Now, I'm not Elon Musk, as you can see, but the fact remains that that one of the bigger phrases that are being used in our public spaces today is what? That no one is above the law. And so that question is coming to the forefront in a moment like this, where we begin to talk about just how we're handling the turmoil that's taking place in our country. This is a very intense, very emotionally driven conversations that are taking place about how we right the wrongs that we believe took place in past administrations, specifically the previous administration. And so I get the fact that emotions are high, but I thought that it was important to call that out and really kind of, take Fox to task about the way that they have worded this incident and in trying to downplay it and try to sweep it under the rug. Yes, they did report on it, but I think the wording and the tone and tenor is very important, which leads me to the next story. And this is where we'll have a little bit more of a discussion if you like. We have found a poster child for people who should not be in the country. Let's take a look.
On this, we want to bring in Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. Tricia, great to see you. Thank you for coming on. Want to talk to you about some breaking news we're getting in this morning. I understand ICE has arrested a previously deported illegal alien who you guys say was caught on video throwing a Molotov cocktail at law enforcement during the riots here in Los Angeles on Saturday. Tell us about this guy and what charges is he now facing?
Bill, that's right. This is a Mexican national who is in our country illegally. He's being charged with attempted murder, throwing Molotov cocktails at our law enforcement officers, at our ICE enforcement officers. But this is not his first run-in with the law. Just last year, he was charged with a DUI as well as grand larceny. This is the perfect example of people who should not be in this country. And as these politicians try so vehemently to demonize and vilify our ICE officers, they are on the streets putting their lives at risk every single day to get these criminal illegal aliens.
So again, I think that's very hard to hear and see. It's hard. It's an unfortunate occurrence in our society that we have this going on, but we've got to have this conversation. We've got to, and we've got to have it in a sober-minded way. And we've got to find people that can have the conversation about intense, emotionally charged issues, but still, we've got to find people that can have those type of conversations in a sober way, in a sober-minded way, in an unbiased way. And with my best intentions, I asked the question to the internet, right, to you all, how do you remove these people? Because as we look on, I'll give an example, a trivial example of, picking dinner with my wife, right? You can tell me what you don't want, huh? But you can't tell me what you do. But we've got to have this conversation. And I think, in my honest assessment, the act of having the conversation and giving respect to all of the voices that are involved in the conversation, that's the beginning of finding a resolution to the matter. But we're having a hard time even asking questions about how we remove the bad people. We can't ask that question without being accused of being a Trump supporter or being, or being hateful. And it's like, that's not the case. And I hope that you're paying attention to this. I hope that you see that as these issues arise, the powers that be are adamant about you picking a side indefinitely, right? But in order for you to pick a side, according to their terms, you have to sweep under the rug all of their fallacies, all of their hypocrisy, right? And so now the space in this moment calls for people who can meet in the middle and call out Elon and call out people who are throwing weapons essentially at our law enforcement. Someone's got to be able to call both sides out and find other people and engage in a conversation that helps us to move forward on these issues, right? But we've got to find a way to remove those people. And I'll ask the people that are being impacted by this, because this isn't at my doorstep, right? But But I'll humbly ask if you'll accept this suggestion. I'll ask you to do what society asks all of us to do, right? If you are aware of someone who is undocumented, and if you are aware or if you have the notion or have the insight or understanding that they have committed a crime here, then it's in your best interest to help law enforcement find the bad people, right? Because what seems like is happening here is, and it might be, and I'm not ruling out the possibility that this is a strategic, act that's taking place. But I still want both sides to see the role that they are playing in what's going on. So what I'm saying is that if we know of individuals like this, we've got to remove them, because what it seems like ICE is doing is pursuing these people, and in the process, they're finding other people, right? And so we've got to find constituents, people that are willing and sober-minded enough to meet in the middle and do what we do. If there's someone in my community that the laws are looking for, and I have an idea or understanding or a belief that this person has committed the crime, to me, it doesn't matter what country they're from, right? And so what we're asking is that we all have the same, a moral, a governing code. We expect it of our officers. We expect it of law enforcement. We expect our police that if we see a police officer, two police officers, and one appears to be violating the rights of a citizen, of a person here in the community, we expect that other officer, to step in, to say something, to intervene. That's what we in the community ask. We ask it, and certainly, you guys asking of our community. Everywhere in Detroit, you've got Stop Crime, you've got See Something, Say Something, because that is how, safety is maintained. It's been talked about, it's been acknowledged that you cannot do police work without some cooperation from the community. And so again, let's meet in the middle. Let's try to see who can come together and talk about the solutions. Because I can tell you, certainly, and the platforms that I'm streaming live on, I have people on these platforms that know me personally, know my friends personally, know my family personally, know the people that I've dated in the past personally. I've got no appetite or desire to see people that have been here for an extended period of time, peacefully, law-abiding, right? Even if the singular crime that they committed was coming into the country, I don't have the appetite or the cruelty to think that those people should be removed. But those who are throwing objects at police, they should be removed. And if you can't admit that, then you've got to take a look in the mirror. You've got to take a look in the mirror, because what we need in order to move forward on this issue is people to meet in the middle. People to meet in the middle. We've got to find people that are sober-minded enough to say that what Elon Musk did to Scott Bassett was assault. That was assault. It wasn't a body check. It was assault on a member of our administration. And I would not rule out Elon Musk being deported, because you should not assault a member of the president's administration, and no one is above the law. But you also got to be able to say in the same breath as I'm saying, that person should be deported. That young man, that the video that I showed you, ICE should relentlessly pursue those type of individuals, and they should deport them. They should. Now, again, are we speaking about the grandmother who's been here for 15 years and has a family now? And again, the only crime, or the only, real crime, even if you've, crossed the border, if you run a stop sign, I don't think you should be deported for running a stop sign, right? But we're, just, vaguely speaking about a scenario, because the media would have you to think that those people are being targeted. And that very well may be the truth. But the way that we alleviate what's going on, the way that we find solutions, again, is by meeting in the middle. And so who is it amongst us that can call both sides out, that can talk sober-mindedly about the solutions and how we move forward? Certainly everyone that came in the last 3 years shouldn't have the right to stay. You know that, right? And so let's start where we agree. Let's start where we agree, but it takes good faith on both ends. That's the story that I have for you today. And it's important and imperative that we have these conversations because we speak truthfully. And that's not to say that other people are dishonest or inherently evil. But what I am saying is that no one who is on CNN or Fox, whether it's local or national news, they don't have the capability of being more unbiased than we are. I know that's kind of weird wording, right? More unbiased. We have the capability and the technology now to reshape our own narratives about these types of conversations and allow us to infuse into these debates what is being lost, and that is common sense. My name is Whitney Clark, and a large part of the reason why I'm doing these streams on these forums, on these platforms, I should say, is so that I can demonstrate to potential constituents my ability to ask the common sense questions, to meet people in the middle, to call a spade, a ball, and a strike on both sides. I think that's imperative, and I think that we need leaders that are capable of doing that and that are willing to address, very, very tense conversations, emotionally charged conversations in a sober-minded way. If you want more information about what it is that we're doing and all the content that you're about to get ready to see, go to WhitneyClarkForDetroit.com. That's Whitney Clark, Clarke. Well, you see my name on the screen. So Whitney Clark, FOR Detroit.com. You can find a lot of information about myself, my platform, what it is that we're trying to do, and how we are going to strategically speak truth to power in a way that people aren't used to us doing. And when I say us, I mean Black, younger men. I ain't young anymore, I'm younger now, but young, Black, intellectual, sober-minded, fair, unbiased fathers and husbands is something that you haven't seen, but you're about to see a lot more of it. I'll see you guys next time.